Transforming this into a study room for my husband. We build a wall, and then we're going to make an arch. Hi friends, it's Sue here from Sue's Design, and today we're starting the study room project. I'll break it down in a few parts, and the first one is the wall and the arch. Before I start building, I decided to take it out everything that I don't want in the future, so it'll be easier to do right now before the wall. So far, I removed the mantle and this top shelf that has a hidden light on it. It was really hard, but I managed to do that without hurt. And that's what I got. I need to fix this later. But for now, let's move on to the next. Because the lights was off already, I decided to also change the light fixture. It was my first time changing a wall, like a light fixture. And at first it was very stressful, but then later I was so proud of myself that I nailed it. It was very smooth, no problem at all. For the lights of this house, we decided to go for black, and we choose the warm tone because it's our favorite. And I was so happy, and turns out so great. Just a simple change, a big impact, right? So let me just give you a little bit of the before, how the wall is. As you can see, this is like the living room, the right side is the kitchen and the dining room, and then this is the place we are going. So I decided to mark everything just to have like an idea of the space that I want, the size of the doorway that I want, just to make sure we work for us, because the room is actually pretty small. After I was happy with the size and everything, I decided to remove all the baseboards because I don't like this style of this one. I was planning something more plain, more simple, and smaller. That's too high for me. So as the wall go, I decide to cut as I go because I feel like it would be more accurate. Then I measure all the 16 inches, so the studs would be 16 inches in between. And I use 2.5 inches nail, construction nail, to screw everything. So I made the first wall, which was like the left side, which is the smaller wall. And then it was very, very easy to put in place, contrary of the second wall, which was like a very different story. But I will get there when I get there. So first what I decided to do is I screw on the ceiling studs first. Then after was always on the studs for sure, and everything was like secure. Then I came with the level and I started seeing if it was actually level, the rest of the wall, and then I started like, moving things around, and then actually later on I decided to screw into the wall or the outside wall, and then it was the time for the concrete. To screw in the concrete, what I decided to do was first I made a hole in the actually wood with a wood bit, then I switched for the concrete one, and then I went all the way down with that, and that was easier because concrete bit actually is not good with wood. So that's what I did. I did have a problem with the screws that I got was way too big. I think it was like, I don't know, 1 inch. So I was so scared to build in the concrete, like to screw in the concrete, and everything was fine. The only problem is screws that I got was too long. I got like a 3.25 inch, like 2.5 inch screw. I think will be okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to put the older wall, and then I go to the store tonight, and then I get, because I have to buy more drywall, so I get the smaller screws for this. First wall was so easy and fast, but the second wall was a problem. I could not I could not fit in place, and the reason is my ceiling are not exactly the same size, and all the places was like random sizes, so I could not do this way. I tried everything, what I did was I took it all apart and I built in 2 different sections, and then I screwed the 2 sections together. So that way it was easier for me and work. So unfortunately I couldn't capture this in the camera because my camera was full and I didn't have space. So the only way I could possibly do was cut one and then another one here, and then kind of, you know, like make it section. And then this one here was like, because the ceiling is small and I couldn't do it. So what I'm going to do right now is I am working on the outlet, okay? And I'm not going to film this because I'm not a professional in electric and stuff. I'm just doing what I learned by myself. So I don't want to share this part here. But up next is going to be, I'm going to put a header on there, on this in the place, because I'm going to do an arch there, but I also want to have, I want to be strong enough for me to put a barn door. I would like to watch the rest of this part here because it was self-explanatory. But the only thing I need to say is I use the rest of my doorways of the house to take the measurements for this doorway. So I want to, you know, this doorway to kind of match the older doorways of the house. So that's how I took the measurements. Before I attach the actually header, I added another 2x4 on top of this 2x4s, going to be below the header, so they would give you more thickness. Because my camera storage needs to be, you know, transferred, I couldn't show this part, but as you can see, it's always screwed in. To make the arch was very simple. I took like some scrappy wood from my shop, 1/2 inch, okay? I screw both together because you need the arch in both sides. Then I measure the size of the doorway, like the length of the doorway. Then I measure the middle of that, and then I made the arch. I cut using my jigsaw. Since I was using a 1/2 inch plywood to use as an arch, and my wood for my wall was 2x4s, I use a 2.5 inch support, and I screw the support into the 2x4s so I could screw the arch into that. So then it'll be flat when you add like the 1/2 inch drywall, that will be all flat. And you have to do this on both sides. Once both plywood arch was screwed into place, I got some 2x4s, I cut into 2.5 inch, and I screw in between to give you more support in the middle. And also when you cut the drywall, the arch drywall, they have something to be screwed in. Because the drywall was kind of heavy for me doing by myself, I decided to cut it in the middle and then screw into place because I could handle by myself. Then I screw everything with the drywall screws, then cut the axis, and that's how it worked for me. To add into the arch, I cut the strips to match, and then I score with a knife. Not all the way through because then you'll break, but you score a little bit, they will be able to move and do the arch, you know, like be able to bend a little bit. And I did the same thing for inside of the room. To tape the edges of the arch was the worst thing ever, okay? But I did it. I used staples to put in place, and the straight sides, I used the straight ones, which was fine, easy. Then after that, I started using mud, and the process pretty much, you add mud, then you put the tape, then put the mud again. The next day was time for sanding, the first sanding, and I'm going to let you just enjoy this clip of me fighting with this plastic. Okay, so I'm not going to be sharing the sanding process because who wants sand? Who wants to watch someone sanding? Let's be honest. But I added plastic in this entryway so the dust don't go through to the other side. And for the first sanding, I'm going to use my sander, okay? And because I don't have the right sandpaper and I'm not going to the store right now, I'm using this one. So I'm ready to get a lot of dust, no matter what. But I want to be quick, so I'm going to use my sander the first time. And I feel like the next one, so I bought this one too, let me show you. If you don't want to have a sander or something, I bought this stuff here. That works really well, but I feel like the first coat is kind of a rough, is thicker, so I'm going to use a sander and I think it's going to look better. It will be better and faster for me. So now it's dry and I'm going to sand for the second time. I feel like now with the second time, things are getting more even because this is why you keep adding the mud so they can get even every time. But I have some things that I don't need to sand anymore, like those things. I didn't add anything there because we're going to put the bookshelf there. So there's no need for that. I'm going to sand now by hand. And I'm not going to show you guys because I'm using these things and it's really ugly. In total, I did 3 sandings and now it's time for priming. Of course, I cleaned everything and it was time for priming. In the beginning, I actually was planning only add primer where had the mud. But then later on, I figured out, okay, let's just prime everything. And then I end up priming the whole wall. I also added primer in the outside of the wall, and now we're going to focus on the inside. But before that, let's see the before and after. If you don't want to miss the upcoming project, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Until the next one. Bye!